The abuse is not just for Africans on the continent, the abuse is for black people wherever you find us. You don't expect those who put us in a position of servitude to undo the damage. They will continue it for as long as we are stupid enough to continue to listen to their lies. Wake up, Africa. Wake up, black people around the world. Africa is your problem. Own it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. For Africa to change, for you to be able to benefit from what is yours. What's in Africa is the inheritance of every black person on earth.
I will never be bullied by Elon Musk or Donald Trump. Because I've never done any crime to anyone. Yesterday I was in an auction in Rustenburg. In that auction, 95% of those people were white people, wanting to demonstrate to Elon Musk and Donald Trump that I'm with the people you are saying I want to kill. Why do you make me an international criminal for asking for dignity of black people? I've not committed any crime against anyone except to say, let's restore the dignity of black person.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel once again. My name is Dash Lifestyle. Kindly for watching me for the first time, remember to subscribe, like, share, and also comment. So guys, in today's video, I want us to watch this video from our African and Caribbean leaders. They have come out and sent a powerful warning message to the Western countries, to the United States, telling the Western countries to stay away from our black countries in the Caribbean and also African country. We have seen how the black Americans, they are being treated in the United States. We have seen how the black people in the Caribbean, they are being treated when they are going to the Western countries. And also we have seen how the Western countries, they have been destabilizing our African country. So because of how these people, they are doing some of the things that they are doing to our black countries in the Caribbean and also African country, our leaders, they have come together and send a powerful message to these Western countries. So kindly guys, watch this video till the end, then I'll be back with more comment.
The abuse is not just for Africans on the continent, the abuse is for black people wherever you find us. I'm going to share with you some basic facts. You see, our story is a simple one. Our story is of truth and facts, which are two constants that do not change. And all we need to do is give the world an overdose of our truth and insist on it. As we speak today, I'm going to take you back centuries, long before the children of Africa were taken out of Africa as slaves. There was some serious resistance when the occupiers from the West came to Africa, contrary to what some might think. They didn't just give up their children, but the fighting began long before slavery. And the resistance was those who led them, the majority of them, their heads, as we speak today, are sitting in jars in Europe. Are you aware of that? Our leaders, our ancestors who fought the wars of resistance, their heads, their remains are sitting in jars throughout Europe. And the same people have the audacity to come to Africa and talk to us about human rights. But what's even more disturbing is that we entertain them and we don't remind them of these skeletons in their closet. As we speak today, the priceless artifacts that they stole from all over Africa are sitting in their museums throughout Europe. And when you and I, when we visit Europe, we pay to see what belongs to us. Evidence of theft, evidence of murder in display. on display in plain sight. As we speak today, black people are listed as 3/5 of a human being in the US Constitution. As we speak today, the redlining continues. As we speak today, African countries are being made to pay ridiculous interest rates on loans that they should not be paying for.
Correct.
As we speak today, reparations are due. Everybody else has been given reparations, expect us. The question then becomes, what is wrong with this picture? Why aren't you and I standing up and demanding that what is right must be done? I can tell you why. Because no other race would stand for a minute what is being done to us. How long do you think a finger of a British soldier lasts in Zimbabwe? How long do you think a thumb of a German soldier lasts in Namibia? Not even a minute. They would storm in, kill hundreds if not thousands of people just to recover that one finger. Why is it that we are unable to come together and speak our truth and demand that what needs to be done must be done? It's because they defeated us where it matters the most, which is the mind. It started with the missionaries in Africa long before slavery. They were sent by the Roman Catholic Church to subdue the Africans, make them believe that when you get slapped, turn the other cheek, and that your riches are in heaven. So by the time they followed with the colonizers to reap and rape Africa, we were already brainwashed. We were meant to believe everything African was bad and undesirable, and everything European was better. And the same brainwashing continued as our children were taken out of Africa enslaved. It continued on the plantations, color gradations, light-skinned versus dark-skinned, field workers versus kitchen workers. To this day, we suffer from the legacy of slavery and the legacy of colonization. For how long are we going to continue to suffer from this affliction? For it is singularly the reason why we are not able to come together just like other races and nationalities have done in this melting pot that is the United States of America. When you ask for the voices of the Irish Americans loud and clear, Jewish Americans loud and clear, German Americans, Italian Americans, Chinese Americans, Indian Americans, their voices are loud and clear. But when you ask for the voices of us black people, you might as well go to the graveyard, because we are missing in action. We were taught, we were brainwashed into not even loving ourselves as individuals, let alone each other. We were taught not to trust one another. We were taught not to believe that my brother can, my sister can, but somebody else who doesn't look like you and I is better. The question I have for all of you, just close your eyes and think about your children, your grandchildren. Is this the world you want to leave behind for them? If the answer is no, then you need to have a serious conversation with the image in the mirror. Because it is the image in the mirror that must change. It is the image in the mirror that must understand that you are sick from this affliction of the legacy of slavery. You are not sick at home. You are not sick in the doctor's waiting room. You are not sick in the hospital ward. You are sick in the intensive care. How long are we going to continue to support other people's agendas? Those who stood up to fight during the civil rights movement, during the Pan-African days in Africa, civil rights in the United States, they were all silenced. We are emerging out of a period of 20 to 30 years where just nothing is going on. We are all fast asleep. When are we going to wake up? Reverend Al Sharpton is saying, the time to wake up is now. Reparations now. We know all the companies that benefited from slavery. We have their name. We have the list. They must pay. As we speak, many have pledged their contributions. Guess what's going to happen, my brothers and sisters? Because we are not organized, we will never realize those funds. And they will hide behind, oh, they are disorganized. They don't know what they are doing. I am now going to be asking Reverend Al Sharpton to lead us as we demand those reparations. We need to register a global Pan-African fund that can make sure that we have development in black communities where it belongs. Those funds must be organized. Those funds must be paid for. Reparations for black people now.
I'm not a professor. I'm a recently retired Minister of Foreign Affairs of South Africa. And so I'm going to speak in that guise. I wish to begin by saying that I am a revert to Islam. And the Islam I have been taught is one which is fighting fit. As Muslims, we do not submit to oppression. We fight it. This is how I have been taught. So I want to begin by saying that I think it's vital when we discuss global politics that we do not appropriate a sanitized view of the West. If you look at a lot of the world's problems, there's a common denominator related to the chaotic and complex problems that we experience today. And that common denominator is Europe and the United States of America. Now, it may very well be that we do need to examine ourselves because there are fault lines in ourselves, in our countries, in our leaders, in our organizations. But as we examine ourselves, let us also look at the undercurrent of the role of intelligence organizations, of those two factors in much of our problematique. It is in Southern Africa where we had the CIA supporting the emergence of UNITA in Angola to fight the liberation movements so that we in South Africa should not defeat apartheid. It was in Mozambique that again, intelligence organizations from outside Africa came into Mozambique, created, financed, armed Renamo, not to fight the Mozambican freedom fighters, but to fight us, because for them, South Africa was a white island of privilege that they wanted to preserve, and they would do everything to ensure that they preserve that. So you are dealing with a very, very complex, evil enemy. And we in the world, if we are to understand how we engage with humanity, we must not sanitize the level of harm, the level of intention to cause you not to succeed. It's absolutely necessary that we understand that. Now, let me come to this interesting phrase that has been used very loosely in the past decade and much more in the past 5 years. And this is this expression of international rules-based order. We always ask the question, whose rules? Who's the referee? Because we understand that in global relations, the international rules are framed in terms of international law and international humanitarian law. There isn't a rules base like a referee match of soccer or rugby. So we need to be very careful. And this notion of rules-based has been developed for someone to be able to say, you are not following the rules when they disrespect international law. So we also, when we discuss global politics, should be wary of appropriating concepts that seek to reify the dominance of particular countries and make us believe that it is those countries that are the ones that would preserve order and the rest of us are merely there to follow. These are very problematic notions that we should not accept. So I agree with the colleagues that part of what we wish to achieve is to seek consensus, is to seek inclusion, is to seek a level of cooperation where all of us matter in this world. I would like, as my contribution today, to speak about the global South. Now, I know that we use the concept loosely because despite the notion that you are juxtaposing the South with the North, we don't have a coherent South, nor is there necessarily a coherent North. You can see, for example, the response of some of the Balkan states in Europe with respect to the Russia-Ukraine war. So there isn't a homogeneity of response. And similarly, when I refer to the global South, I do know that it is a concept that is not accepted by everyone, nor is it meant to create the notion that we are a homogeneous, coherent political force as countries of the South. But I do think it's a useful concept and one that we should use. So let me begin by coming back to Professor Fouaz's earlier comments this morning when he spoke about the current geopolitical environment being at an inflection point. And I absolutely agree with him on this. It's an inflection point that might lead to an emergent global set of relations that could be less hostile than those shaped by the powerful assertion of unipolarity that has been so dominant for over 70 years. Despite having a multilateral premier institution of the United Nations, essentially, unipolarity has been extremely dominant for several decades. And what we are all seeking an answer to is how do we create successfully a multipolar world? we believe that geopolitical contestation has been somewhat laid bare by at least 3 significant events in the past 2 decades. Firstly, the devastating economic crisis of 2007, which affected all our economies and confirmed the strong macro-financial limits of globalization. Second, the impact of COVID-19, which we often neglect to mention, and yet it had such an effect. And alongside that global impact of COVID-19, we recall the manner in which the developed, richer countries of the world failed to initially promote global pandemic response cooperation. I recall when we were responding to COVID-19 as South Africa and the African continent, we couldn't get anybody to sell vaccines to us because they said themselves first and then others later. So we failed with global pandemic response cooperation, and countries that are richer than us, that had developed the science, were quite comfortable to see many of us in the South die and would not provide us with the support we needed to combat this pandemic. Then I think thirdly, we have the devastation of the Russia-Ukraine war and its confirmation of the inadequacy of the United Nations, and particularly of the United Nations Security Council. Linked to this war is the onslaught of Israel against the people of Palestine, and the failure of the global community to decisively intervene and stop this harm to Palestinians. A failure despite the existence of international law and international humanitarian law. Despite these frameworks that are designed and adopted by us, the nations of the world, to protect the innocent from harm, as the globe, we failed to assist Palestinians. So it is this confluence of events over a decade that has led to the problems we are speaking of today as we address global politics. So let me come to my country, South Africa. South Africa is a country that emerged from the devastation of apartheid, racism. And it emerged with the belief that it is the duty of leaders to seek peace for their people, for those that they lead. Out of the pain and ashes of apartheid, we have sought as South Africa to create a constitutional democracy that seeks to unite a once divided, diverse nation and to create what we aim for, which is a democratic, non-racial, non-sexist country in which human rights belong to all and human dignity is the cornerstone of our constitutional foundation. South Africa strongly believes in our common humanity and in the obligation of all persons to engage in struggle against injustice and to unite in international solidarity to fight oppression. Our leaders went all over the world asking you, your leaders, civil organizations, Islamic organizations, Christian organizations, saying there's this evil called apartheid that we are fighting. Could you join us in solidarity in an international anti-apartheid movement? And in country after country, the people, not the leaders, the people said, we will join. Whatever way we can help, we will help. Even Yasser Arafat, under conditions of oppression, said as the Palestinian Liberation Organization, they will assist us in whatever way they can. This is why today, in international solidarity, we stand shoulder to shoulder with the people of Palestine. Because in our hour of need, they stood with us. And this is our understanding of international solidarity. And we believe we need this international solidarity as humanity in any instance where harm is brought to those who are oppressed. We really appeal to the world that just as they supported us when we were fighting for freedom, so must this global solidarity today, matched with positive values and ideals, be brought to bear urgently in order to assist the people of Palestine. The West European region and the United States of America are a powerful combination that the world has to engage with. However, the question we must answer for countries of the South is what should be the nature of our relationship and engagement with the West. There are several key points. Firstly, we believe that the South must collaborate consistently on addressing critical development priorities to end poverty, inequality, and joblessness. His Royal Highness, the Sultan, made reference to these issues this morning. Secondly, we believe countries of the South should not take a back seat on global challenges. They should be advancing openly for freedom from corruption and freedom from terrorism and all other ills on behalf of the Palestinian people and the people of Sahrawi who are also oppressed. Third, the South is the largest bloc in the United Nations, and yet it is the least powerful. The South countries should actively ensure reform of the United Nations system to make the UN Security Council more democratic and more effective. How can it be that only 15 countries believe they can assume responsibility for our peace and security, and 5 of that 15 can veto anything that doesn't address their interests? This is undemocratic, it's inefficient, and it has to be brought to an end, and it is us, the South, who must lead on that.
One issue that kept coming to me and became very apparent was the disrespect for the African. I knew it existed, I just didn't understand the depth and the profoundness of it. And not only that, as I began to understand it even deeper, I began to also understand its economic implications when it comes to how we are perceived on the world stage, how this simple fact of simply disrespecting the African had serious implications and is at the root cause of why Africa is not able to move forward. And as I went and tried to understand and dig further to say, what is it about us as black people around the globe? Why is it that we are so disrespected no matter where you go? And I often say, was there a memo sent out to say wherever you go, if you are not a black person, you see a black person, you're automatically superior to them and you have a right to disrespect them? This memo did not miss anybody. It went to non-black people, But here's the real shocker. It also went to us black people to say, accept that you are inferior. You automatically take an inferior position. And I'm going to have to tell you something that has become a realization that and this is where I am stuck as I try to understand, how did this message just go through and percolated so through? Now we are on automatic pilot. It's almost as if we've undergone a genetic mutation. We don't even have to be told. We pass it on to our children. Have you ever wondered, of all the colors on earth, why were two colors chosen? Black color and white color. Follow me on this one. You take a white color, you associate it with Jesus Christ. You associate it with the angels. You associate it with purity and everything wonderful and everything desirable. And then you take a race that's not even white and you say you are white. Yes. And then you take another color. You associate it with the devil. You associate it with everything undesirable. I've never seen a bank robber wearing a white mask. All the villains on movies are black. Everything undesirable is black. And then you take another race that are not even black and say, you guys, you are black. Yeah. Now go at it. Speak, my sister. As we black mothers are trying to raise our children in our own homes, as much as we try to tell them that you're black and you're beautiful, guess what? The minute they step outside the door, the messages are completely different. A barrage of subliminal messages telling our children that that which you represent is horrible. How do we fight against that? How do I tell my granddaughter that you're black and beautiful, but the world tells her otherwise? The voices echoing her blackness as a symbol of everything undesirable are much, much louder than even we black mothers. We come together, we can never drown those subliminal messages. They were all by design. Let me take you to the beginning. Certainly for Africa, your continent. Because as we gather here today, as we try to strategize, as we try to create those linkages between those Africans away from the continent and the Africans on the continent, we must understand, how did we get here? And for Africa, it starts with that monumental decision when the colonizers, came together in Berlin in 1884. And let me say, prior to 1884, they were coming to Africa in a haphazard way. They had started with slavery. And then when they felt like they needed the slaves to stay on the continent, they say, oh, we no longer believe in slave trade. Let's stop it. No. It was really just another way of saying the labor is needed on the continent. Let's keep the monkeys on the continent so we can continue to exploit them. So 1884, they met in Berlin to organize themselves so they can effectively loot from the monkeys. They did not meet in Berlin to see to it that Africa would prosper. No. Let me repeat. The colonizers met in order to see to it that your Africa, our Africa, and her children, not only on the continent, are forever defeated and dominated. That was 135 years ago. The manner in which they did it, they took out the map of Africa while the Africans were sleeping, minding their own business. Started to chop up your continent into the tiny little countries that we see today. The bigger and more powerful a kingdom was, the more countries that came out of it. Not only more countries, but these countries were given to different colonizers who spoke different languages. Let me bring it home for a second. Pretend you're driving from Zambia, you're speaking English. Pretty soon you are in Angola, you're speaking Portuguese. Then DRC, French. Equatorial Guinea, Spanish. Southern Cameroon, French. Northern Cameroon, Southern Cameroon, English. Northern Cameroon, French. You are now in Nigeria, English. Hello. These were the same people. Prior to 1884, we were powerful, amazing kingdoms with well well-established educational and religious systems. If the truth be told, we had the civilization. We were the civilized. They were the devils, the uncivilized ones. They set out to take everything that symbolized civilization in Africa. To this day, they're still refusing to give up those relics. If those relics were not that good, why are you keeping them?
I hope you have watched that video from our African and Caribbean leaders coming out and send a warning message to the Western countries, because the Western countries, they don't want to leave our black countries in Caribbean and also here in Africa. And we are seeing how these people, they are treating our fellow black people in the continent. We have seen how these people, they have been treating the black Americans. The black Americans up to date, they are still being given less opportunity. There is racism towards our fellow black people. So, and there is also our black people in the Caribbean who they are coming to the United States also, they are not being treated very well. And also these Western countries, they have been destabilizing some of the black countries in the Caribbean. You can see like in Haiti, what it is happening in Haiti, it is because of the Western countries. These people, they were taking out resources from Haiti. They were turning the Haitian leaders to be a puppet leaders, to be a sellout leaders, to a point whereby the Haitian people, they decided to come out and fight for their country. And also, we have seen how these Western countries, they have been destabilizing our African country. Up to date, we are having some of the African countries that the Western countries, they are taking their resources. And these people, they are still calling our African country the third world country. So seeing our African leaders coming together and send a warning message to the Western countries, it is a good thing for me as a black person, because for a very long time, these people that have been taking our African country for granted, these people that have been taking our black countries for granted, to whereby these people that are using our resources, which it is here in Africa, to create more jobs to their children. They are using our resources from here in Africa to fund the healthcare in their country. They are using our resources to develop and to grow their country and calling their country first world country. And they are using our resources to grow their country, and yet they are still calling our African country a third world country. So this tell you that these people, they need to leave right now our countries alone. And the first thing that us black people, we need to do, it is to come together. Our leaders, our black leaders, they are coming out and say that one thing that we black people, we need to do, it is to come together. Unity. We need to unite. We need to speak one language as a black people, as the African people in the continent, wherever they are. We need to speak one language. We need to come together. We need to unite, because we can't just fight these other people when we are not unite. And these people, they are making so hard. They are making effort to see us black people not uniting. For sure, I can tell you that in this world, in this continent, we black people, we are the one, we are behind. Because when you see the Chinese, they are united. These people, they support each other. These people, they do business with each other. When you go to the Indians, they support each others. The Chinese, when you go to the white people, these people, they love themselves. These people, they support each other. But when it comes to the black people, we black people, we are not supporting each other. Instead of supporting ourselves, we are now supporting these other races. You will find black people, they are supporting the Indian, black people, they are supporting the Chinese, black people, they are supporting the white. And you can see the black people, it is the one who wants to see the business of a fellow black people going down. So this is tell you that these people, they brought hatred amongst us black people to a point whereby we black people, we don't want to support each other. And for me, I can tell you, black people, we need to abolish this hatred that we are having amongst ourselves. We need to support each other. We need to speak one language so that these other races can start to respect us. In this world, the black races, it is the only races that it is not being respected. And to a point whereby these people, they have been called our African home, the home of the black people, a third world country, because these people, they know that when we can call Africa a third world country, these people, they cannot do anything. these people, they can't say anything because these people, they are not unite. So the only problem that we black people we are having, it is unity. And that's why our African leaders, they have come out and say, we black people, we need to unite. We need to, because when we are unite, we can become more powerful and will be strong to fight these other races, and these other races will start to respect us. And also our leaders, they have come out and highlight how the Western countries, they are working so hard to destabilize and take our resources from here in Africa. You have seen these people that are taking our resources from Africa, and yet they can't respect us black people. For so many times I've been telling you that these Western countries, they can't do without Africa. Yeah, because Africa, we are blessed. We have everything. We have gold, we have oil, we have so many resources in our land. Our African land, it is blessed. Our African soil, it is blessed to a point whereby these people, they can't trade anything to us black people. So these people, they depend so much here in Africa, and these people, they know exactly if we will allow African people to unite, these people, they will start to cut they will start to stop these resources which it is going out of our country to them, and their country will come down. And that's why these people, they are working so hard to see that they are having a puppet leaders in Africa. They are having a sellout and corrupt leaders in Africa, to whereby these people, they will be our corrupt and sellout leaders. They will be selling these resources that we are having to our country to them. And that's why these people, they don't want to leave our African country alone, because when you find here in Africa, we are having a leader who stand according to the will of the people, the leader who will not entertain the Western countries. These people, they always want to bring that leaders down. They always, these people, they always assassinate those leaders who they are brave, those leaders who they know exactly what some of the things that the Western countries, they are doing to our country. So this was a message to all black people, to all black leaders, to stop allowing these Western countries to invade in our country. So kindly guys, subscribe if you haven't, like this video, share, and also comment. Peace, love, and unity. We need to unite as black people. Thank you so much.